One of the #1 things we get asked here at SnowTrax is to compare two vehicles that seem similar in some way. Now, we've done a lot of that for you guys, comparing things that you've asked us to, but we've also compared some things that aren't very similar at all, like when we compared the Sidewinder to the Ski Doo Ace 900 Turbo, or when we compared a timber sled to an Assault. Today, we're doing it one more time. We have heard from our viewers over and over. They want to know, how does Polaris's new 650 stack up against other 600s, most notably Ski Doo's 600R?
So the 600 class is really the meat and potatoes of the entire snowmobile industry. You've got to have a good, strong, winning 600cc sled in today's market because it is ultra competitive. And to prove the point, here goes Polaris rewriting the rules and coming out with a 650cc.
Is a 650 really better than a 600? Find out now. Look, the truth is this isn't a scientific experiment here. This is just something we're doing for fun in the afternoon on a beautiful day because we can and because we like doing this stuff. So to make things as fair as possible, we first need to talk about the sleds that we're riding. This Ski Doo is a 600R Renegade. It has an Ice Ripper pre-studded track, and it's bone stock. There's no modifications made to this sled at all.
And this is a new Polaris MATRYX VR1 650 with a 129-inch track out back. It's an Ice Ripper.
So the track length is slightly different, potentially giving the Ski Doo a little bit of an advantage, but we will find out as we do these races. And the way we're gonna do them is very simple. Mark and I are each gonna pick a sled, we're gonna line up side by side, do a run, then we're gonna switch lanes on the same sled. That way we each get to try both sides of the lake. After we're done those two runs, we are going to switch sleds and do it again. That way each sled has had a run on both lanes with both drivers. It's the only fair way to make sure there's no weight advantage, there's no traction advantage. We are gonna do 10-mile-an-hour roll-ons to make sure that traction off the line isn't a factor. Simply power and top speed on.
Okay, Luke, enough talk. Let's go do this.
So far, I've noticed that whoever gives the drop has a slight advantage, but it hasn't seemed to matter. Even when I was on the Ski Doo, which is the one with less horsepower, right, and I'm bigger way more than you blew my doors off on the Polaris, right?
Yeah.
But then when we switched, and I was on the Polaris, more weight, you're on the Ski Doo, lighter, this Polaris still blew the doors off the Ski Doo.
I feel really good about being the light guy. But as it sits, I mean, there's no replacement for displacement.
Well, you're talking about basically just under a 10% displacement increase on this, right?
Yeah.
And they claim a 10% horsepower increase.
Right.
Which makes sense, 10%, 10%. So this is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 140 plus, right?
Well, I'd argue that it's maybe 140 is the most that it is. I think it's probably 138 in that neighborhood. You can't tell any lies when you do that on the lake. You can tell which is faster. What's impressive to me is how when the VR1 shifts out, it just keeps freight training.
It pulls off the line, even though that may or may not have more traction when we hit the throttle. This still pulls right from the get-go.
I think we got to give some props though to Ski Doo. I mean, let's be honest here. This is a 600,
Yep.
and they claim 125 horsepower. Well, that being said, you know, 125 doesn't trump 138, right? I mean,
Yep.
so the Ski Doo is very capable. It is not by any definition slow, but if this engine has such a huge bubble of torque in the mid-range,
Yeah.
that it really is way more fun than anything else on the trail.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It wasn't very scientific, but it was definitely a lot of fun, and I think it proved a very interesting point. A 650 is faster than a 600.
Yeah, wouldn't you know it?
It kind of should be, though, because it is a bigger motor, so did we really prove anything at all, other than ride snowmobiles on a lake on a beautiful day is a ton of fun? If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you click that like button. And we upload new content every week, so if you don't want to miss out on any of that stuff, make sure you subscribe so you get notifications whenever something new pops up.